Hello, hello. Today is day 9. I got to jump on this one of 21 days of tapping on whatever you want to. So this came in as an email request, and it says, releasing being triggered, annoyed by situations and people, reacting instead of responding positively and calmly. Oh my God, like this is so perfect in so many ways. It's truly been probably the biggest challenge in my life is, and the triggered part, you know, the amygdala hijack, you can't help the trigger when you're in it. Like all of a sudden, bam, it happens, but you can soothe it. And the more you soothe it over time, then you'll find there's circumstances where you're like, wow, I'm just not as triggered this time as I have been before. And I would say, keep the bar for, you know, there's the old 12-step saying, progress, not perfection, but there's so much truth to that. And I've told this story a million times, but I'm going to tell it again. This is probably the classic example for me. I had huge abandonment issues, and for a lot of reasons. And when my husband and I would get in arguments, and this can still happen for me, but it's way better. And he would be like, I need space. And that kid in me would get so activated, and I'd be like, no, we got to work it out now. We got to work it out now. And I would watch myself like being unable to stop myself. And then there was a therapist who said, oh, Marty, your kid's activated. And I know I've said this on other videos, it was life-changing for me. Did anything change for 6 months whatsoever? Absolutely not. On the physical, that was obvious. What was changing is now I had this like idea of like, oh, that's my kid. That's the wounded kid. I see it in myself. I particularly, it's, you know, it's always easier to see it in others. And I have someone in my life right now who's going through this, and I see, and there's nothing, you know, there's nothing I can do to help it. You see the trigger, and you see the trauma that's coming up, and the kid that's so activated, and you know, I just have to, you know, watch it unfold in this, and see it be. So, oh my gosh, I so understand this so intimately. I understand it myself. I understand seeing it in others. But with that, for 6 months, I would just start observing, oh, there it is. My kid. This is my kid. That's all I could recognize. That's my kid. That's my kid. I couldn't change the behavior whatsoever. But what was happening is I couldn't unsee my behavior. I was no longer unconscious about it. I would get triggered, and then I'd be like, oh, this is my kid. So I would literally like watch my child do that behavior. It's behavior I saw in my parents as a kid. So it's like, you know, it's absorbed in my nervous system. So I saw it. And then all of a sudden the day came where I was not comfortable at all. And I still had that kid like freaking out, but I could manage that child within me better. And I actually could walk away. And I'm much better able to do that now. Way, way, way better. So I just wanted to share that story because it's the judgment of self that holds stuff in place. And I was treating that inner child the way I was treated. I was beating up on this kid like, why can't you pull it together? Not even realizing that's what I was doing. Like, I'm so embarrassed. I'm so ashamed that I can't like stop behaving that way. And it's to start practicing giving loving kindness, because that's the part of us that needs the most loving kindness. The part of us that is so freaked out and so triggered that is completely unable to respond calmly and positively. And that's the rub. But that is the part of us that needs the most love, tenderness, and caring. And that's the practice. So it's first to realize, like, when you're triggered, you're feeling annoyed. I mean, I still get annoyed all the time. I mean, I have opportunities all day long to get annoyed. Like when I drive, I'm like, really? This is how you're driving? I mean, I can get road rage in Costco. So it's just the practices to be like, okay, there it is. There's the trigger. And sometimes the trigger's there and I'm off. You know, bam, the amygdala is hijacked. And then it's to come back and be like, it's okay. It's okay that you did that. Of course you did. You couldn't do it. If you could have done it better, you would have. So that's my monologue. And let's tap. Karate chat. Even though I would love to release being triggered, I would love to not get so triggered and annoyed, which is triggered, by situations and people. I choose to acknowledge I feel this way now. Even though when I get triggered, I react instantaneously. Like a moth to the flame, I go right into the flame. And that's the amygdala hijack. And that's my little kid speaking to me. Even though I want to respond positively and calmly, but with certain people and in certain situations, I am nowhere near that. I choose to honor my truth right now. Go to the eyebrow. All this triggering, all this annoyance, I get triggered and I'm gone into the trigger. And what if I could just start, even if it's well after the fact, by reminding myself, this is my inner child. This is the child in me that's so triggered. And this little kid is doing the only thing they know to do. They're reeling. Because I bet as a little kid, more often than not, I was left alone when I was triggered, with no one to soothe or comfort me. So what if the trigger is good? Even though I may hate it, and I may not want to react this way. What if the trigger is letting me know that my wounded child needs attention? And what if the more I catch this, even well after the fact, I can tap through the most recent event and start to soothe that response? And what if over time, the more I do this, I start to notice I'm less triggered, even if it's 1% at a time. And what if the more I notice this, the more that starts to build momentum. And then the day comes where I notice, wow, I can walk away, gather myself, and come back and respond more calmly, with less annoyance. And that is a huge win. So take a breath. It was interesting. I was watching I like to watch dog rescues, and there's this guy, Rocky Kanaka, and he sits in shelters with these kind of the worst case dogs and really works to gain their trust. And the one I was watching yesterday was a puppy, a Mastiff puppy, probably a mix, and it had killed a cat. And so the family turned it back in. The dog was found roaming, and then this family took it in, and unfortunately, it didn't go well with one of the cats they had. So they returned it to the shelter. And the thing that Rocky was saying in it, which is this Gabor Mate and all these people, it's when you're left alone in your trauma, especially as a child, that's when you, like, if somebody's not coming up to you and soothing you when you're in the midst of that trauma, it just embeds in the nervous system even more, and that it stays with us. And that's why you get so much more of that thing called the amygdala hijack, where it's all of a sudden you're triggered and bam, you're off and running. And it's, again, to me, it's that recognition of like, that's the kid. And the kid can really, that's the part of us the most that needs the soothing. And yet that's the part that most of us learn to judge and so severely, because we learn to treat ourselves the way we were treated. And that takes some unraveling to do that. And again, when I go back sometimes to the well-meaning at times personal development world and some of the pithy quotes and stuff that they say, like, I've had people tell me, just let that go. And I'm like, wow, thanks for that Einstein comment. If I could, I would. It's the how. How do you let go? And the how is this. It's to get triggered, to know it's there, to go off the rails, and then to just keep coming back and keep working at it and keep working at it. It's not, to me, I mean, in my world and what I've experienced, it's not this panacea of like, oh, I tapped 3 times and now everything's better. It's not at all. It's a lifelong work in progress. And I think when we know that and remember that, we start to let ourselves off the hook a little bit more each time. And that's huge. So thanks for this request, and hope you found this helpful, and it'll be posted on YouTube shortly. See you back here tomorrow for day 10. Bye for now.